Outcome Memories is a game. Well, obviously. Outcome Memories is an asymmetrical horror game featuring Sonic characters and different EXE and Sonic Pasta characters along the likes of it. Currently, it is in version 0.1 and 0.2 is set to release around this Christmas break. So while waiting for that, I might as well take a deep dive and full analysis of each survivor in Outcome Memories and see which one is the best survivor, indefinitely of Outcome Memories. I'm mainly doing this so people can have new people in Outcome Memories can have like a little basis of what to do in Outcome Memories and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, this is going to be my personal ranking of every survivor in Outcome Memories from worst to best. And number one is probably going to shock most of you and also probably not going to shock some of you. So let's just get started with number 7 on the list. Unsurprisingly, number 7 on the list is Tails. Now I know this is going to seem like bias from my recent Iron Man challenge video, but I promise it isn't. Tails is definitively the worst survivor in Outcome Memories and is probably going to be the worst survivor in 0.2, and here are the reasons why. Number 1, his laser cannon. Buddy, I don't even think I need to explain the problems with this thing, but I might as well. His laser cannon is a cannon, that charges a laser for around 3 to 4 seconds. During those seconds, Tails is slow and completely vulnerable during that time, meaning that the killer can land 2 to 3 hits on this man. Keep in mind, 2011X takes 3 hits to down a single survivor, meaning that Tails is basically a sitting duck. Tails is mainly used for long-range attacks and camping up in high places, but if you don't have a person protecting you during that time, then you're basically just free eats once the killer finds you. Next up is his glide ability, which I don't really understand why it isn't a passive, but hey man, you do you, I guess. His glide ability allows Tails to, glide. But the problem with this ability is that sometimes it just doesn't work for some reason. During that time, Tails is basically just jumping in the air for absolutely no reason, which gives the killer free hits again, and during glide, the main killer and only killer in the game currently, 2011X, has an ability called Charge. Basically, he winds up for 2 seconds, and on the third tick, he flies at the survivor and starts to choke him out. And guess what? Tails is also a flyer. So if you're going up against at least a decent 2011X, they're definitely going to catch you during the chase. Tails is quite literally the most useless survivor in any case, because not only with all those weaknesses, he is also map dependent. Plus, getting hit out of glide automatically makes it, unable to be used and having a 25 to 30 second cooldown. So yeah, that sucks. Another reason of why Tails sucks is, as aforementioned, he is map dependent. Maps like Green Hill and X's Castle are Tails' worst map. Green Hill is specifically Tails' worst map due to the fact that the collision on Green Hill is freaking stupid, which is why it's the worst map in the game. Yes, I said it, Green Hill is better than not perfect, cry about it. But not only that, there's too many trees in the way, meaning that you can't really snipe the Executioner if, you can't see. You can't really snipe him if you can't see. So that also sucks. X's Castle is the reason Tails is one of his worst maps, is because of the fact that it may be open and stuff like that, but it does have limited range for his glide ability and his laser cannon. While his laser cannon does have the ability to shoot through walls, it doesn't have the ability to shoot through all walls, meaning that if the Executioner just hides behind a thick wall, then your laser cannon is basically useless. So yeah, that basically just Tails map dependent. Maps like Not Perfect and You Can't Run are Tails' literal best maps, and in fact perfect maps. You Can't Run would be one of his worst maps if it didn't have so many spots that Tails can reach and only Tails can reach. While the Executioner can reach those spots, Tails does have the ability to glide. And to reach those spots, he would have to glide once, and the Executioner would have to charge after him. Meaning that if you can't find Tails first on You Can't Run, he's basically going to snipe you, weave you, make you fall off the spot, glide back up to the spot, and since you already wasted charge or it's on cooldown, you're gonna get jumped by everybody else and you won't be able to reach Tails while he charges his cannon. Unless RNG is in your favor and you land on God's trickery, then you're not getting Tails. But then again, the Tails could just break your ankles and you could be back on the ground again like a sitting duck. Not perfect is Tails' best map because it has a very open area, very high spots on literally every part of the map. The bumpers can actually help Tails with his glide passive depending if he uses them right, and not to mention most Tails LMS that you see that are winnable are on not perfect. Any other map during a Tails LMS, yes, including You Can't Run, is basically useless because on You Can't Run, Tails needs 1 or 2 specific spots that the Executioner won't be able to reach. But since the Executioner has 3 abilities that can teleport to Tails or just reach Tails, being Charge, Invisibility, and God's Trickery, with no other teammates around, God's Trickery is just a free teleport. Even if Tails does use the laser cannon during the LMS, the EXE can just go invisible and basically just waste your freaking thing. So yeah, it's just completely invulnerable. This is why I think Tails is literally the worst survivor. Moving on to number 6. At number 6, not falling far behind, we have Cream the Rabbit. Yeah, Cream and Tails are literally like the worst survivors to ever play in the game. I don't even know why you would ever play them. The only reason I would put Cream above Tails is because Cream has the healing ability. If Cream didn't have that ability, she would be automatically at number 7. But due to the fact that Cream has that healing ability and those free hits on her LMS, and depending on the Cream main, you can either just suck or you can be godly. It really just doesn't matter. Cream is also sort of map dependent, but not really. Her best map is definitely not perfect like Tails, so those are the one thing those two have in common. However, if Cream can find a looping spot with her glide passive, then it's just GG's at that point. Because unlike Tails, her glide passive doesn't have a cooldown, meaning that as long as she is high up in the air and double jumps, she can glide however many times she wants. Not to mention the short cooldown on both the dash and heal ability during LMS, and in the normal game, it's just free eats for Cream at that point if they're just goated. However, due to the fact that they are a healer, they are definitely going to get tunneled out first, so it doesn't really matter. Unless your team is the freaking Avengers and are 24/7 protecting you, you are basically cooked once the Executioner finds you. Even if you do have those looping spots, he will just charge, take some away your HP unless you're a Master Weaver and have Ultra Instinct, and he will just down you, then use Rage Mode, tunnel you out, and kill you. Moving on. Now, I know this is going to make some people upset, but moving on to number 5, we have Amy Rose herself. Now, I know you're going to be wondering, why is Amy at number 5? She could be one of the best survivors considering her cards ability. And that's the reason she's at number 5. Her cards. Amy is literally a character based off of pure RNG, and due to her nerfs, she has actually been down the scale. She would actually be number 4 on the list if it wasn't for that. Her recent nerfs was removing her iframes on her hammer swing. So whenever Amy just does the hammer swing, you instead of not taking damage when the Executioner tries to attack you, when the hammer swing is open and stuff like that, you are going to be taking free damage every single time from the Executioner, even if you do try to hit them, making the ability more risky. And due to the fact that Amy is mainly a close range stunner, this is not good. Characters like Knuckles and Metal Sonic at least have damage resistance when using their stuns. Characters like Sonic have a dodge meter to avoid being stunned. But Amy doesn't really have anything other than those iframes, because unless you're a goated Amy and use the hammer bounce technique, well, you're basically getting cooked free 24/7. Other than the fact that, unless you have godly aim with the hammer throw, then you're not doing anything to the Executioner unless they pop invisibility. So yeah, Amy is a purely RNG based character. She can either be the worst survivor in the game or she can be the best survivor, really depending on her deck. Her main deck that you want to get is the Sun and Shadow combination, Tails and Sun, or Sun and Tails. The reason why is because Tails gives her a speed boost but makes her stuns do nothing. Sun heals her, and Emperor, well, it gives her a stun boost, not to mention a sort of speed boost. Kind of forgot what Emperor does, but it is a goated card, not gonna lie to you, because I main Amy, and let me tell you that those combinations have saved my life before. But at the end of the day, due to being purely RNG based and due to her nerfs, Amy is going to be number 5. Sorry, not sorry. Not to mention, during her LMS, it does give her a little buff due to the fact that she has the shortest LMS in the game, being 2 minutes and around 30 seconds. But at the end of the day, if you are not a good Amy main and you cannot dodge the Executioner and make them lose sight of you, you are getting cooked unless you use all of your abilities effectively. Moving on to number 4. Alright, moving on to number 4. Metal Sonic. I know I just triggered a lot of you Eggman Empire fans or just Metal Sonic fans in general, but let me explain why Metal Sonic is at number 4 and not Eggman. Number 1, while Metal Sonic does have a whopping 175 HP, meaning that he has the most HP in the game, including version 0.2, if we're not including Executioners, looking at you, Delayway. But yeah, not to mention that he has a damage resistant passive that gives him around a 50% damage resistance, if I am correct. And during LMS, he gets a 75% damage resistance, basically meaning that you're going like a full health Metal Sonic during LMS. You are going to need 17 hits to even kill this guy, taking 10 damage per hit. And this is before the 2011 X buff where he does 45 damage, so we're not going to include that here. During Fleetway, I know this isn't included, but I should mention, against Fleetway during an LMS, Metal actually tanks 8.5 damage during each hit against Fleetway, needing over 21 hits to even kill this guy, depending if he heals or not. Now, all of this sounds great. Not to mention, he has a self-healing ability and it heals faster when Tails and Eggman are near him, and he has a move called Destructive Charge, where he stuns the Executioner for around like 5 seconds. So, with all that said, why is Metal Sonic at number 4? He is a self-sacrifice character. That's right, I said it. I know I triggered all you Metal mains, but at the end of the day, Metal does have his weaknesses. Those weaknesses being the limited mobility control when using Destructive Charge, meaning that if you slam into a wall, then you get, well, your damage resistance is basically gone and you get a chunk of your health stolen. If you get caught lacking while healing, you also get a chunk of your health stolen if you're hit. Not to mention the fact that Destructive Charge also damages Metal Sonic. While he is good for helping out his team, his main goal is to be a sacrifice. Escaping is just a bonus. Like, if Metal's rank is dependent on how many survivors escape, even if he is the last one that escaped, it doesn't really matter. Because while you still do get S rank, say that one teammate survived and you died, you are getting C rank at best. It does not matter if you get the fighter multiplier or not, because Metal's main goal is to make sure everyone survives before he does. He and Sonic are supposed to be the last ones to escape, because Sonic is supposed to make sure all his teammates are gone, and Metal is supposed to make sure everyone is safe. Without those two, then your team is basically, well, you know, fried. But yeah, Metal at the end of, like, again, Metal has one life, meaning that, you know, Metal has one life, meaning that if you run out of your, like, full 175 or 150 HP, then you are done. You are out of the game for the rest of the match. Not to mention that Metal Sonic, other than being kept around for Rage Mode, which is why I personally keep him alive, Metal Sonic basically has no purpose against a good EXE other than to stun the killer and damage himself. Once the EXE pops Rage Mode, Metal Sonic is going to be 100% targeted during the entire match. Now, Metal Sonic's best maps would probably be A, not perfect, and B, you can't run. Now, I know this is going to be conflicting because X's Castle exists, but Green Hill is objectively one of the worst maps for Metal Sonic due to the fact that it has stupid collision like Tails, and not to mention that it's very open. So if Metal doesn't find a good hiding spot, well, he's going to get tunneled out and die. The reason I say You Can't Run and Not Perfect are his best maps is because Metal Sonic is able to push the EXE off the freaking map. So it can just send the EXE back to his spawn point, and depending on where you are, it can just send him halfway across the map. And the reason I say You Can't Run is one of his best maps is because it has plenty of looping spots for Metal Sonic and plenty of hiding places, and, well, because the map is freaking huge. So, yeah. But overall, this is why I think Metal Sonic is at number 4 instead of, you know, Eggman. But don't worry, because his father isn't too far behind. And at number 3, we have Eggman. Now, as a pure survivalist character, Eggman is a absolute S tier. He is a completely selfish character, and he is supposed to act like this during the game. A lot of people complain about Eggman doing nothing when he quite literally can't do anything. The best thing that Eggman can do is using his dash boost and his shield as a combination to stop the EXE from using charge, or use his shield to guard Metal Sonic when he's healing super fast. But once that 1 second stun ends, it's basically free eats. The only effective way to do this is using charge because it slows down the EXE, but if it's just a pure M1 attack, then Eggman is basically useless when protecting his team. As a pure survivalist, Eggman gets S tier, and during the LMS, his shield actually lasts longer for a stun being 3 to 4 seconds long, which is very annoying. Not to mention his recent buff being the decreased cooldown for his double jump makes Eggman extremely annoying to deal with. Not to mention Eggman actually having one of the highest jumps in the game, surprisingly, even without his double jump. Even with his big hitbox, he is still a very large annoyance, pun intended by the way. Reason I say Eggman is at number 3 is because, again, as a pure survivalist, he is good, but as helping his team, he is not that very good. But his pure survivalist instincts plus his, map dependencies, which he really doesn't have one. Any Eggman map is literally the best map. Again, the only map that I could say is the worst is Green Hill, but then again, on top of the freaking bridge thing, Eggman can use his double jump to jump on top of there, while the EXE can only use one jump, well, actually 2 jumps to try and get up there. And by the time EXE does, he can either break your ankles and make you get off the freaking platform, forcing you to use charge, where he uses his shield, which has the same duration as charge, so you're probably going to run into it, or your charge is going to run out regardless, and then he can use his dash boost to get away. While the EXE can use invisibility to find him, again, Eggman is an extreme maneuver, even for his big build, which is why I think Eggman is going to number 3 instead of, at number 5 like Amy. Alright, at number 2, we have Knuckles the Echidna. Now, it was very close between Sonic and Knuckles, but I'm going to have to place Knuckles at number 2, even though he does have 2 stun abilities that last for around 3 to 5 seconds. Now, Knuckles is actually a very strong character, due to the fact that he has 2 abilities that are pure stuns to the EXE, and is actually the second character, the second character on this list to have 2 stun abilities. The second being, Amy, of course. Knuckles' main ability is Punch, and, well, he just punches the EXE. It's pretty self-explanatory. However, if Knuckles charges this punch long enough, he actually gets the Flames of Disaster effects, and if he hits the punch successfully, he can hit the EXE with a burn effect, which slows down the EXE and makes the stun last longer. Against killers like Fleetway, this is good because burn does damage to him. So, yeah, also Fleetway would probably be forced to use his burst, and, the burst damages Fleetway now that we know that. During Last Man Standing, I'm going to have to say that Knuckles is definitely mediocre during Last Man Standing. He does have extra HP and all that, but it really isn't anything special. He does have this passive, however, during his punch, where he has the passive called Unstoppable, where he actually takes more hits to die than Metal Sonic. That's right, I said it, more hits to die than Metal Sonic. And basically what this means is that he has damage resistance during his punch, meaning that while the Executioner is attacking Knuckles, he can still land a free punch as long as he times it right, and he can take, less damage. So say that a normal hit would bring you around to like 62 HP or something. During damage resistance, it would actually bring you to around 72 to 80. I don't really know the percentages, but the point is Knuckles gets damage resistance during punch, which is actually very helpful during an LMS when you're trying to stun the Executioner and trying to get those extra flame effects. Not to mention if the Knuckles times his jumps right, then he is basically untouchable and basically just unbeatable. His second ability is Counter. This counter actually bypasses the EXE stun time and is actually one of the second moves that can do that, the other one being Eggman Shield. During this, Knuckles sets up his fist and, is outlined in white, and if the EXE hits him during this duration, the EXE is stunned to 3 to 5 seconds. This can also counter charge abilities, so if the Knuckles is goated enough, he can jump, use counter, and just, counter charge. However, if your counter is baited out and your punch is on cooldown, you're basically useless. The reason I put Knuckles at number 2 instead of number 1 due to the fact is his mobility. He does have a glide passive, however that glide passive is extremely map dependent, specifically Green Hill yet again, because you can barely glide on that map unless it's from very high places, although during those high places, again, the collision is weird on Green Hill, so you most likely won't be doing, super extreme glides like you would on X's Castle or Not Perfect or You Can't Run. You can't run Not Perfect and X's Castle or Knuckles' best maps. Especially, in my opinion, you can't run because it has multiple gliding spots where you can glide from high places. While the glide doesn't last forever like Cream's fly ability until she touches the ground, Knuckles does fall from the air and gets a roll. And during the roll, during roll, characters are technically invincible during roll unless they are hit at just the right moment where those iframes end. Which is why, so yeah, these are the reasons why I think Knuckles is at number 2, and, well, we already know who's at number 1. Alright, at number 1 on the best survivor is, unsurprisingly, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I know a lot of people clicked off once they noticed that Sonic was at number 1, but hear me out for a second. This is not biased due to the fact that Sonic is my main go-to. I can assure you that Sonic has his flaws and has his weaknesses, but overall Sonic is technically the best survivor in Outcome Memories. Now, the reason why is because of his 2 abilities. Sonic has the best ability in the game, being Drop Dash. The reason I say it's the best is because of mobility, helping out the team, and not to mention its stuns. While individual drop dashes don't last that long, so if you miss the second drop dash, the EXE does, get a free outing. Even during the EXE's iframes, you can stun them again to save your to save your team last second. But during that, of course, drop dash is one of the best abilities in the game, again, due to said mobility. Why do I say this? Because if you land 2 stuns on the Executioner and run away with drop dash, you still can get far enough range for the Executioner to have to wait like 10 seconds to even catch you. Even more if you have your dodge meter, and even more if you're excellent at dodging without sacrificing your dodge meter. Speaking of which, Sonic's passive, dodge meter. Every drop dash you land adds 10% to the dodge meter, meaning 3 dashes equals 30 dodge meter. During this, well, the dodge meter is basically just an extra HP bar, but you don't take actual damage and you don't get a speed boost from it. The dodge meter only lasts as long as the M1 damage does. So say 2011X tries to hit you while you have 50 dodge meter. Since he does 42 damage, you'll be left with 8 dodge meter left. Meaning that you can dodge, twice in a row before you get, freaking slimed. And during rage mode, he does pure 50 damage, so your dodge meter is just basically just a one-hit KO. So with all that out the way, yeah. Another reason, oh my god, Sonic's second ability is peeled Peel Out. I'm pretty sure this is self-explanatory and I don't even need to, say what this is, but yeah, Sonic charges up for a couple of seconds. I'd say about 3 seconds if I time it right. Sonic charges up for 3 seconds, then he dashes off in a burst of speed for 7 seconds, even lasting longer than Metal's destructive charge, which is 4 seconds on the dot. During that time, Sonic is able to pick up one of his teammates and is even able to automatically revive one of his teammates if they are down, and also pick them up so he can run away. This ability is definitely the 3rd best ability in the game due to the fact that it has pure mobility and is able to save the team a lot. However, it isn't the best ability in the game because it doesn't stun the Executioner. However, it can get people away from the Executioner. The main problem with Peel Out would be the controls and sensitivity, normal sensitivity of Outcome Memories, but other than that, Peel Out is definitely one of the best abilities in the game. Another reason why Sonic is the best survivor is due to the fact that he is purely meant to help his team and let others escape, which is why on his LMS, when everyone is dead, he gets the guilt passive, which makes him take extra damage, basically making Sonic a 4-shot kill. This is the easiest kill during all LMSs. However, it is the second most annoying in my opinion, due to the simple fact that Sonic has his dodge meter, and if the Sonic is smart enough and catches you off guard and, you don't use invisibility to dodge him, well, he's getting that dodge meter back and getting 2 free stuns off of you, then he can use Peel Out to get even more distance off of you. Maps like Not Perfect would probably be Sonic's worst map, to be honest, due to the fact that he's pure mobility, and Not Perfect basically stops mobility if you run into a spring. And, Sonic keeps his freaking Sonic keeps moving even if he runs into a spring, meaning that you're just wasting your abilities. However, he doesn't keep his momentum. Actually, yeah, he does keep his momentum when running into a spring. So if you run into a spring, you can suddenly burst off the freaking map, and then you can lose more, then you can lose 35% of your HP. But yeah, this is the reason why Sonic the Hedgehog is the best survivor. Now, the LMS does hold him back a lot due to the fact that I have won many Sonic LMSs. Well, I've won against many Sonic LMSs as 2011X. So yeah, that does mean like that dual passive is definitely Sonic's biggest weakness. But at the end of the day, Sonic is still the best survivor, which is fitting because he is Sonic the Hedgehog. But yeah, everybody, that's going to be my list of every survivor ranked from worst to best. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. If y'all disagree, if y'all agree, and if y'all do disagree, let me know your rankings because I am curious to see them. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. This is K-Boy Ultra signing off. See you later in the next video. In the next video, I'm going to be explaining how to beat Sonic in the LMS every single freaking time.